Civil rights during the transition. Article 1. Why a free Iran needs a Charter of Civil Rights and Freedoms. My previous series, Psychological Reconstruction of Iran, From Authoritarianism to Democratic Culture, argued that democracy cannot be achieved simply by changing a government. A society that has lived under authoritarian rule for decades must rebuild trust, responsibility, tolerance, and civic culture alongside political institutions to secure lasting freedom. This series continues that discussion from a different perspective. While the first focused on democracy's psychological foundations, this one examines the civil rights that should define the relationship between citizens and the future Iranian state. No democracy can endure unless citizens' rights are protected and governmental power is limited. A transitional society requires more than competent administration. It also needs shared principles defining the limits of state authority, citizens' rights, and the responsibilities of public institutions. These principles are not a future constitution, but a compass to help prevent chaos, revenge, and the return of authoritarianism. In recent years, valuable preparations have been made for this period. One of the most comprehensive is the Emergency Phase Handbook, developed within the Iran Prosperity Project with the support of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. Its purpose is to preserve government functions, prevent a power vacuum, and facilitate the peaceful transfer of authority to democratically elected institutions. This series is neither an alternative nor a competing roadmap. Instead, it explores the human rights, civic, and psychological foundations on which every successful transition depends. Many of the principles discussed here, including human rights, the rule of law, judicial independence, transitional justice, a constituent assembly, and the peaceful transfer of power, already appear in existing transition plans. These articles explain why they matter from the perspectives of social psychology and democratic culture. The proposed charter draws on three sources: the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which places human dignity at the heart of all rights; Iran's constitutional revolution, which first established the rule of law against absolute power; and the experience of established democracies such as France and the United States. Experience elsewhere shows that even successful revolutions can falter without agreement on fundamental principles. Egypt's post-Arab Spring transition, for example, failed to achieve consensus on basic constitutional rules and civil rights, creating conditions for authoritarianism to return. By contrast, South Africa's transition benefited from national reconciliation, respect for human dignity, equal citizenship, the rule of law, and strong, independent institutions. Political disagreement is inevitable during transition, but fundamental human rights must never be negotiable. Against this background, the following proposed Charter of Civil Rights and Freedoms for Iran's transitional period is offered as a framework for national dialogue. 1. Human dignity and equality. 2. Freedom of thought, conscience, religion, and non-belief. 3. Freedom of expression, media, and access to information. 4. Freedom of association, political parties, and peaceful assembly. 5. Full equality between women and men. 6. Protection of Iran's ethnic, linguistic, and cultural diversity. 7. Equal rights for sexual and gender minorities. 8. Judicial independence and the right to a fair trial. 9. Prohibition of torture and all cruel or degrading treatment. 10. The right to privacy and protection of personal data. 11. Transitional justice, truth, accountability, and legal responsibility. 12. Limited powers for the transitional government under the rule of law. 13. A freely elected constituent assembly to draft a new constitution. 14. Civic education and democratic culture. 15. Independent oversight institutions to safeguard citizens' rights. These principles are not a draft constitution, but an invitation to begin a national conversation about rights that no government, political party, ideology, or majority should ever violate. The articles that follow will examine 3 principles at a time, from legal, psychological, and practical perspectives, showing how freedom, justice, and human dignity can become lived realities rather than constitutional promises. Mahmoud Ashkanian, consultant psychiatrist, PhD.